Yeah.
All right, we've got a bunch of questions. We're going to try to get to them quick, so make your questions as quick as you possibly can. Vikram in Tennessee, you're up with Iman.
Hey, Iman, nice to meet you.
Hi.
I've really enjoyed listening to your story. Being an immigrant coming to America like at the age of 23, so connected a lot of different parts to your story. I've got your book right here.
Amazing.
And I dove right into authenticity. I think you touched on a couple of things there, but I'm going to read this definition really quick because I think it's probably one of the best authenticity definitions I've ever come across. And I've read a lot of books, but to quote you said, to build your authenticity muscle, you must understand the discrepancies between your beliefs and your actions and pay attention if you doubt what you're saying or doing. And the latter, I think I wouldn't say hurt me, but it's caused more grief in any ways, because sometimes when you're dishing out stories, you're telling people how you are or what you're doing or what your story is, there's parts of me that sort of hold back, because you feel like you want to hold back on something. So how do you build that latter part into your storyboarding? Because clearly you've identified those two steps, adaptive and authentic, which I thought was brilliant. So would you mind expanding on that definition a little bit in your practical life, pageantry? How did you go about overcoming that latter part? Because I think that's where, guys like me sometimes struggle, right? You think you're authentic, but then you feel like, wait a second, you're kind of holding back here. And people feel like it comes across as a little bit of a fearful sort of situation. So
yeah, that's a good one. And I think it starts with understanding why you're holding back. I think maybe spending some time with yourself in a self-reflection state and saying, okay, I wanted to say this, but I held back and said this instead. Why did I do that? Most of the time, I find that the reason is because of fear of judgment, fear of other people's opinions, or being too unconventional for others to understand. So you feel that you're fearing rejection if you were to say something that is really authentic to you, but you don't think other people are going to accept it or accept you. So it really starts with understanding the core reason of why you're holding back and seeing how you can work around that. Obviously, it's easy to say you need to stop caring what people think. I try to remind myself of that every single day. And that's really the core of authenticity, right? Is being really okay with being who you are without fearing what other people are going to think of you. And not only, being secure with yourself, but showing it and telling it and really kind of displaying it without really caring what others think. It's a very hard place to get, but I think it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of also surrounding yourself with people that you feel are not judgmental of you, and being able to feel like you're in an environment that allows you to be truly who you are, as opposed to someone who's continuously holding back. So really understanding your environment, the people you surround yourself with, and what kind of fear you're succumbing to, because that's usually why you're holding back. Once you're able to really understand what those are, I feel like writing them down is very important. That's why I think I have a lot of exercises in this book that really help you sit in self-reflection to get to know yourself and build that self-awareness. Because I find that once you have a strong self-awareness and you know these things about you, what triggers your authentic self, what triggers your adaptive self, what triggers you to hold back instead of being fully you, you're able to kind of look for those trigger points and those signals and better prepare yourself in a situation. Yeah. So I would say really start with that, journal what those are, and then kind of work backwards from it. If you don't think that you could open up to someone without holding back, then maybe that's not the right person to be around. Maybe that's not the right environment for you. Maybe the solution for that, instead of trying to change your environment or change other people's perception of you, is to shift to an environment that's more supportive, that's more aligned with who you are, so you don't feel like you're constantly holding back.
Awesome. Thanks, Iman.
Advice.
One last thing. I've got a 14-year-old, so if I ever come to New York, I'd love for her to meet you.
Yes. My favorite thing is to meet with young teenage women, because I felt like that's the support I needed when I first came here, and being able to like relate and tell my story is always, it makes me feel better about the way I handled myself when, I didn't know what to do back then.
At a minimum, she got to meet Miss New York, and I think that's going to be like an amazing adventure for her. So.
Absolutely. I would love that.